right, it is that time once again. Awesemo.com Friday betting show, Super Bowl edition. Even though the game is not 3 days away, we've got over a week. But you know what? It's never too early to talk. Little Super Bowl, little college hoops, little golf, everything that you guys need. We're gonna get into. Myself, Ben Reza, here with Julian Edlow. Happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday. The Super Bowl show before the Super Bowl show.
Correct. Show before the show. The game within the game. Yeah, I mean, I asked you right before the show how your Thursday went. You said it went pretty good. You've been hitting those NBA props. Certainly something I think we all can take advantage of. We're gonna have some things here at Awesemo. Definitely diving into that. I do want to start though. Well, first, what's up, chat? It's good to see everyone. I want to start with college hoops though. You know, it's Friday. It's never the best day of the week. Tuesdays, Saturdays, usually where you're getting big time action. But every Friday, it seems like they throw one big game, particularly in the Big Ten. We've got Iowa and Illinois tonight. Last week, Michigan, Purdue, which worked out for us. I think we were kind of on the right side of that one. So what do you make, just very peripherally, before we dive into some other topics, of the college slate tonight?
Yeah, it feels good when you can get one of those ones like Michigan last Friday and have the right read and have it go the right way and have the better team clearly dominate the game. But those type of reads seem to be few and far between. Obviously, a big Illinois-Iowa game on Friday night. I tend to think that, you know, Iowa's obviously a machine. I really liked Illinois in like the early going. Like I have a plus 2,500 ticket on them to win it all. I don't even know what the current odds are. That might not even be good anymore. It was very good at the time. Illinois has more duds than Iowa does. Mm-hmm. Iowa had a massive dud against Indiana. And that was the game where I actually bet the Iowa team total in that game, and they went 11 minutes without a field goal. From the 12-minute mark left in the game,
I remember
scored a field goal with a minute left in the game. The most, an offense up there, lethal, probably below just Baylor and Gonzaga, and that happens at home. So Iowa's capable of a dud. I think Illinois has fallen flat more often. Illinois has also fallen flat more and be able to recover in the same game. Like they've had some second half swings of like 20, 30 points, which I think would be tough to do against Iowa. This is all a long way of saying I don't have a great read on this game. I could see it going either way. It's two very good teams with a lot of good players that have shown capable of coming out flat in any, random situation. So you and I are both A10 guys. I think I'm somehow a little more interested in the A10 game tonight. Most people will probably be watching this one though. So we'll see. Maybe something will come together later in the day for me, but Saturday, which we can touch on a little bit, I think this Big 12 SEC showdown schedule is really cool.
Yeah, so the game of the night, I'm with you. I don't know about exactly where these teams are at. It's funny. I still find myself, when you have a big win, and I put that in extreme quotes early in the year, it's like, oh, they crushed Duke. Well, it turns out that Duke is not good. Or like, oh, this team that, we'll get to Richmond in a little while. Oh, like, they won in Kentucky. Well, that doesn't really mean anything now that we've seen the season play out. So like, I try to keep stuff like that in check as we go. And I think that this is the type of game. It's an interesting to get a read on. Iowa, they kind of have their formula. They've got Garza. They've got the 3-point shooters. Illinois, a little different. Great guard, great big man, kind of an inside-outside combo. I don't think it's a game that I want. If I had to bet it, I would bet Iowa, but I'm not looking to do that. I think this is two teams. Clearly, if either of them brings their A game, I think they win this game. And come March, these are the type of teams, Final Four-esque, if they get a good draw. There's no doubt about it. But I do want to, there's so many bad games in my world. Like Dixie State.
Friday nights is where I always don't come with that much college and say, oh, but I like these things on Saturday. And there's a million NBA games on Friday night. So I'm looking for injury news and doing the NBA props like I always talk about. And it's the perfect college schedule for you every Friday to just dive into some of these games.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I said, we got Cal Baptist is on the schedule. Tarleton State is on the schedule. All real shenanigans. But there is another big game. Talk about that. Then we'll get into a little golf. And then I know everyone wants to get to the Super Bowl. We'll talk about the Super Bowl. Not to worry. St. Louis and Richmond. These are teams that, you know what, most people don't care about. And you don't really need to until you get to the tournament. And then you're like, oh, this is a 7 seed and they're going to draw this 2 seed. You don't want to mess around with. These are the type of teams that could poise to make a run. They both have some talent. We were talking before the show, St. Louis had a major COVID situation. They had to shut down for a while. It was 5, 6, 7 games. They returned to play Dayton. No surprise. I don't want to say it's no surprise, but they lost that game. But it's hard to come back when other teams have been playing. Richmond's been dealing with it too. So where do you gauge teams that are at no momentum, no flow within their season?
That's a very good question. I don't know. That's why betting college basketball has been so hard. And COVID situations have definitely affected college basketball. And it hasn't as much in, I don't want to say it hasn't, but it's been different in professional sports. Like teams have done okay coming out of COVID pauses. Like you go back to the first big one where everybody was on it, that remember the Titans were off for so long and the Bills were such a hot bet against them. I bet the Bills, and the Titans were at home, came out of the COVID pause and just demolished the Bills in that. Maybe it was a Tuesday game.
It was, yeah.
So teams have come out okay from COVID pauses in other sports. That college basketball, it always seems to affect you. So something that I'm trying to figure out is how long are those effects? And maybe you have a better answer than me. You say, unsurprisingly, St. Louis lost the first game out of their break, and St. Louis's break was longer than everybody else's. They hadn't played since before Christmas.
That's what I'm saying.
Before Christmas, and they come back on, what's the date? They come back on Tuesday, lose to Dayton by 5 as a 9-point favorite. So not great. St. Louis hadn't covered their last 2 games before the shutdown. One of them was as a massive favorite against, I don't even know what UMKC stands for, but
yeah, baby, the Kangaroos. Don't sleep on Missouri, Kansas City.
Okay, the Kangaroos, of course. A lot of Kangaroos in Kansas City.
Everyone knows it's a hot spot.
Minnesota's legit, an 8-point loss there, but St. Louis was favored by 2 in that game. So that shows you how highly they were thought of, though, before the shutdown. Richmond side, awful loss by 14 as 14-point favorites to LaSalle. They get the big bounce back against St. Joe's. They cover the 13, winning by 23. It feels to me like it should be, I want to say it's going to be a St. Louis bounce back spot, tight spread. I think they're the better team in a vacuum. I just don't know timing wise, like how you put this all together.
Yeah, it's very challenging. These are good balanced teams. St. Louis is top 50 in offensive and defense efficiency per KenPom. Richmond's better offensively than they are defensively. I think that's pretty obvious. One thing, I'm a St. Louis guy. I like their coach. I like their team. They can't shoot free throws. They're in the Creighton bucket of a lot of missed free throws. I watched the end of the Dayton game and they had their chances. Got to make your free throws, but here, getting a couple points, I do lean to St. Louis. I think they're the best team in the A-10. So if they are, this is the type of games you got to win.
What did you get St. Louis at?
2 +2.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot of ones out there now. 1s, 1.5s.
Yeah, it's been bouncing around. It was 1. I got up pretty early this morning, and it was 1. And then it was 2. Now I see 1.5. So again, I don't think it's a huge deal. Even, if you say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to take plus 110. I don't mind that and just take them to win the game. I do think they win that, and the point probably doesn't come into play. But other than that, let's get to Saturday before we move on. Is there something specifically that you wanted to talk about? I know you mentioned the Big 12 SEC Challenge. They're doing some, cross-conference games, some big matchups.
I just think those games there's a lot of really interesting, good games on the Saturday card. Not that I'm gonna bet them all, but it's cool this time of year to see, two legit conferences kind of get some matchups and see like, okay, where do all these teams really stand? And even if you're not betting a game, watch a game with some teams that you're interested in, like futures on or whatever, and get some good information for March. I will say I have 3 tickets to win it all. I have a Gonzaga plus 1,000 one, which I'm clutching and extremely happy to have. I have Villanova plus 1,400, and I have Illinois plus 2,500. No bad tickets. Really happy to have the Gonzaga ones. The only other college basketball future I was hoping to get Alabama, and this is to win the SEC tournament. They were at plus 700 on DraftKings for a while. After that LSU game, things swung, so I got them at like plus 475 to win the SEC tournament. They're now like plus 200, plus 250. Alabama's good. Alabama plays a hot Oklahoma team on the road on Saturday. That's one of the noon games. I want to bet Alabama. I need to see what the line is. Alabama's just so good, and Oklahoma's maybe peaking a little much right now. They might be due for a step back. Either way, I just think that's a fantastic game on that card. Auburn has been a team that with Sharif Cooper back has been terrific. He is like working his way into the lottery if he wants to leave as a really talented undersized point guard to be taken that high at his size. They get the short end of the stick here out of the SEC and draw Baylor on Saturday. I've loved betting on Auburn. I need to see what the number is. Like, I'm looking at Haslametrics right now. They have Baylor 87, Auburn 65. If you want to give me Auburn plus 22, I'll take it.
Where's the game?
Is
it in Waco?
I have a feeling that's not going to be the number.
No.
But this is a spot almost where I just want to see how Auburn does. And I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for 87-65. I want them to get crushed because that schedule afterwards, if we can get Auburn value on Auburn for a few games, they're going to bounce back and cover some games just like they have been. And, Texas needs a bounce back win. They get Kentucky, who we know stinks.
Ew.
Kansas and Tennessee are two teams that are kind of like overrated. Neither of them are that good. I would be surprised to see either of those teams as like Elite Eight teams or anything. I think they're going down before that. What else is on there? There's other good ones on there.
Who's Oklahoma State have? Are they on there?
Oklahoma State has...
Because Cunningham has been out with COVID.
There's West Virginia, Florida is on there, is another good one.
That is a good one.
Why am I not seeing...
They might not be on there.
Just give me your thoughts on some of those games. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, so I turned on the game the other night, and I thought the ESPN app
Oklahoma State and Arkansas.
That's very interesting because Cunningham may be back. Oklahoma State is a team that they've had some COVID issues. Arkansas, they're a decent team, but I've got my eye kind of on Oklahoma State. When you're potentially, the number one pick, it's an interesting situation. Baylor the other day legitimately was up I think it was 30-2 against Kansas State. They don't mess around. I'm very interested to see how Cooper, I know it's not a one-man show, but he doesn't have to go up against Butler. He's got to go up against 6 legitimate long Baylor guards. They have the deepest, it's not even up for discussion, the deepest backcourt that I've seen in a while. That zone, it's going to be very interesting to see what a team like Auburn can do. It's a little insight. These feel like tournament matchups, which is why I like them too. You get into the flow of conference games, they match up, the teams. These are almost random matchups, and it has the feel of neutral court, NCAA type, and I'd like to see how Baylor plays. I'd like to see how West Virginia plays. Kentucky doesn't have to worry about the NCAA tournament, but in theory, I'd like to see how they play. So yeah, Saturday's going to be good. Obviously, we'll both have some plays posted. You can go check that out. Anything else before I sneak in a little golf before we get to the NFL? Not
really. One of the more interesting spots, I really, really want to back Texas against Kentucky, but we don't have word really, but I don't think Shaka Smart will be coaching because that was a very recent positive COVID test. And then, the number 2 and number 5 scorers missed that Oklahoma loss, which they almost came back and got. I assume they're going to be out, but that's something to watch. Maybe if we can get word that they're out, we get a shorter number on Texas, and I'm still interested in Texas, even missing the bodies.
It's really tough to tell what happens when you lose a coach to COVID like that. I don't even know how drastic that is. Texas certainly did not look good in that last game. So that's just an unknown. And something we have to keep an eye on. Last thing for me, I forgot to mention this. There's one other game tonight. It's more marquee than made up, but Boise State and Colorado State play for the second time. Colorado State absolutely smoked them. I would be, it's not a hot take. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Boise State plays pretty well tonight. It's hovering around pick'em. Boise State's a slight favorite now on my screen. If I had to bet that game, I think I would lean to Boise. I don't see them getting swept, even though Colorado State is peaking. They have a great backcourt. I like there's something to college hoops this year of looking at these almost back-to-back situations and kind of trying to break it down. Rarely, to me, do these teams get swept when it's a pseudo pick'em like that.
And Boise's pretty good. Good.
They're a good team, absolutely.
I did forget to mention that one. I was looking at that one, and if I bet it, I would bet Boise.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. All right. I do just quickly want to, a couple things. One, chat, you guys know the drill. Hit that like button. We are marching towards 50,000 subs. We're going to get there before the Super Bowl. And it's because of you guys, and we thank you. We're going to do a great giveaway. So if you want to help us out, hit that subscribe button, like the channel, and do your part. It's much appreciated. We got plenty of content today with NBA. We've got a show coming up right after us. Greg Ehrenberg, Josh Engelman, and then the team later, Deeper Dive, Live Before Lock, everything that you guys need here at Awesemo. We also have free content today, NBA projections, top stacks, giving some things away, so you can go check that out. Certainly one of the many tools that we have. But I do want to talk about golf quickly. So they're at Torrey Pines this week, and all I want to say is just a very blanket statement. It's a 2-course rotation, which we see early in the season. One of the courses is Torrey South. It is much longer. It is much more difficult. The other is Torrey North. So obviously half the field played one. They flipped to the other today. Don't overreact to the actual scores. Look how the guys played, which is a general rule, but it's even more so here. Like if your guy shot around even on the South course, well, he gets the North today. He's going to have an opportunity to fly up the leaderboard. And you're going to see a bunch of guys who were 5 under, 6 under, 4 under, who played the North course. They go to the South today. It's not going to be so either, and they're expecting weather. I think that you really want to almost throw out the leaderboard and just, if you saw someone who held it together on the South course, they could move up the board today. I think that's kind of the plan of attack, not necessarily for outrights, but just in general, whether you're betting head-to-heads, if you're betting live, some books have like live top 10s, top 20s, guys that already played that South course for the first time, their opportunity will be today. And I think that's one way to attack it. So, the books know that, but at the same time, that to me is where the edge can be. So just public service announcement. I know you dabble a little in golf, particularly when we get to Augusta, Julian.
You're talking to me?
Yeah, talking to you. But no, I like I said, I know early season golf doesn't move the needle as much. Tiger's not here. Little edges, though. You've talked about this with 3 balls, like when you have a guy that's just absolutely dismal in there. It's almost like a pseudo head-to-head. Those little things can make all the difference, especially when it's lesser-known names, which this tournament's pretty good, but it's not elite.
Because I know nothing about golf, I strictly bet golf on theories and strategies and ideas, which sometimes can be good. It completely removes bias because I know nothing about golf. I know the big names at the top of the board. So I don't necessarily bet something on my own without asking you or somebody that knows what they're doing before, saying, does this make sense? I think it makes sense. And when you or somebody else that I trust agrees with me, I say, okay, I'll make a little splash here. So we'll see if I get anything going for this. But with the Super Bowl coming up in the middle of college basketball, in the middle of NBA, I probably will not see any of this tournament.
Yeah, I'm not watching, but you know what? I think that can help you in betting because golf is a numbers game, and you look at the strokes gained, you look at some of those variables, it's high variance, as we all know. I think that the market and people in general tend to overreact to one round, particularly when it's at a different course than the other guys played. Like, let's see 36 holes where everyone has played one at the north, one at the south, and then we'll kind of get where we're going. All right. That's all I really have to say, Chad. If you have questions on specific golfers, things like that, you certainly hit me up on Twitter. Get in the Awesemo Premium Slack, answering those questions, breaking it down. If you're doing showdown, play the North course. We all know that. All right. Last thing, I keep saying before we get to the Super Bowl, I mean it this time, though. On the NBA side, I just wanted to ask you in general, because you've had a lot of success, player props, things of that nature. Are you still sticking with your strategy of you're going reactionary, this guy's out with COVID or whatnot, I'm going to hit this? Or have you found that maybe some of these moves in general, like in terms with Grant and other players, that just the personnel in general is not there? And even when these teams are at full strength, it's kind of a go on a player prop, a points total, a points rebound assist type thing?
Yeah, at least 90% of it is reacting to that day's news. The NBA player props are my bread and butter because I'll tell you, like, you don't have to be a sharp bettor to do well in them. Breaking down these college games, you have to be really sharp. Even breaking down NBA spreads, you have to be really sharp. I'll play some of them because, this is my job. I put the work in. I'm trying to find the right side of these games, and you can do fine. But if you're hitting like 55 to 58% of your NBA sides, like, that's doing really well, and you're going to grind out slow profit. But with the NBA props, you can really heat up and react to injury news. So like last night, one that I didn't tweet out, and I apologize, but I just slapped it together late because a line moved, like Reggie Jackson over 25.5 points, rebounds, assists. Obviously no Kawhi and Paul George. It was minus 180 for a while, so I wasn't going to bet it. Mm-hmm. But then I found it adding another one. It was 25.5 most places. I found it at 26.5, laying minus 130. I didn't think you could find that many places, so I didn't tweet it out, make people angry, but I played that, and it wound up working. If you can play the primary ball handler of the Clippers when Kawhi and Paul George are out, that's an extremely strong spot. So you want to look for those cheap wins like that, and find guys that are out and take advantage. That's the big piece of it. Now, there are some things that are mispriced, and those are what you want to pay attention to. Jeremy Grant props are one of those. It's a weird thing where he turned down an equal contract with Denver, a team that just went to the Western Conference Final, to be a featured guy in Detroit. And that's obviously meaningful to him and something that Detroit is putting some weight in because they're featuring him. So his point prop is generally like 3 points below his average. So if you just keep playing that, you're going to do pretty well. Now, he missed it last night, and he's now missed it 3 times in his last 5 games. So now we have to look here. And despite that, he's still 15-4 on the season to his point prop. Now, he missed two of those misses have been the second night of a back-to-back. So I now have that circled. Maybe we don't do the second night of back-to-backs for Jeremy Grant. But for the most part, like, you get a night where Derrick Rose or Blake Griffin is out. They rest those 2 guys all the time. Grant does fine. He's the guy to look at. The one other one that we rode for a while and just missed was Aaron Gordon assists, because people don't think of him as a point guard. He's been playing point guard since Markelle Fultz went down for the season. It was at 4.5 for a while. He hit 5 or 6 in a row. It got bumped to 5.5 for the last game. And of course he finishes at 5. So maybe that knocks it back down to 4.5. That's something I want to look for. So yeah, like occasionally you find a Gordon, a Grant, and kind of ride it for a little while, but really news. Yeah. And listen, that's the key to it. You can beat it. You got to just be very, very reactive. And we try to do that. And obviously, man, Tyler behind the glass, he's already on top of it. Shop the odds at OddsShopper right on the screen. You guys see that. That is where you just mentioned it. You're searching for Jackson. Well, if you're looking at OddsShopper, you can quickly identify, okay, you know what? Is it worth it to add another point to lay minus 130? To me, the answer would be yes. You'll have the ability to kind of weigh those decisions. The other thing, what I do with player props, and again, we're not going to get too deep into this. There's a couple teams, particularly the Kings, I've been picking on around the 3-point line. They're giving up almost 40% from behind the arc defense. That's last in the league. That's like impossible.
It's really bad. I had Fournier against them with the Magic as my prop of the day. I've been looking for people on the other team that have secure 3-point volume. If they are playing the Kings, the volume is going to be there. The looks are going to be better. The true shooting percentage is going to be better. The books are not really reacting to that, and I think that they should be because they're dead last in the league right now. That's been working out. But enough of that. It is time. We've got 9 or 8 days. It doesn't really matter. But it's never too early to talk about the Super Bowl. Obviously, I wanted the Packers and the Bills. So we have the Bucks. Congratulations to you. And the Chiefs. I do want to ask you about the first game. We don't need to rehash old history. What did you think about that game, particularly with the refs? You throwing that flag based on what we saw, or you say it's the right call, you make the call?
So I loved how few flags we saw in that game. I think we all did. You got to throw the flag there. Not just on the hold on the receiver, but there was also holding on the offensive line.
There was.
Now I'm starting to forget the game, but there was you got a big flag on the other side. You did get one big one on the other side. So I really respect letting them grind it out. But that had to be a flag. There was too much going on there.
Yeah, it was a weird ending. Yes, like I said, did he grab his jersey and give them the first down? Yes, it was also holding that they did not call. I thought that Rodgers' pick at the end of the half was a clear penalty that wasn't called. I liked the consistency until the end. It was a little, but you know what? At the same time, the Packers had numerous chances.
I'll just put it this way: I liked not throwing the flags, but in the end, the flags weren't necessarily even. They missed one big one, and they threw one big one.
Well, that's a given.
If each team had one big flag thrown on them, it would have evened it out, and it wound up one side got the right side of the call on the two massive plays. So that wasn't right. Now, do the Packers deserve anything good to happen to them ever again for kicking that field goal? Probably not.
Fair.
I was sitting on my couch. I had a couple beers. I thought I miscounted or something. I was like, am I drunk? What is going on here? I have to be counting this wrong.
Why didn't you run?
Counting? Nope, it's 8. I'm looking right at the number. It's 8. You have Aaron Rodgers, and you have Aaron Rodgers. You need a touchdown. You just decided to do something that gives the ball back to Tom Brady, and you still need a touchdown. And you gave the ball to Tom Brady instead of letting Aaron Rodgers try and get you a touchdown. That was one of the most mind-blowing decisions I've ever seen.
Yeah. Listen, I get the numbers. I don't. First of all, I don't understand why Rodgers didn't run on third down. That to me is not talked about enough. I'm not saying he definitely scores, but I guarantee that they go for it when it's
sets up
4th and 2.
Sets up a 4th and 3 or whatever.
Absolutely. They had their chances. Like I said, the fumble. Devin White is also amazing, and we're going to get to that. The Bucs are a damn good team. And yeah, it is. The numbers do bear out that, with the 2-point conversion that you can kick there. With Rodgers, to me, it's a little different. Listen, they all, at the end of the day, I keep saying this, they had their chances. And we move on. The second game, Kansas City's just too, I didn't think there was anything to talk about. Kansas City is just clearly better than the Bills.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, they had a great, props to the Bills. They had a great season. They're a good team. Kansas City's offense is unstoppable, and the Bills had no answers. And you can't, I'm not saying these are bad decisions to kick field goals, but you just have to know that it's just not going to hold up. You can't hold them down with field goals. And we saw a game that felt like it was close, and then you looked up and it wasn't even remotely close.
Yeah, that one I got in late on the Kansas City future, plus 125 or something to win the AFC. So I just rode that. And then when it got to 9-0, I did what I did all of last postseason and just live bet the Chiefs in game. And it worked out. I was hoping Josh Allen would maybe make a big mistake. It was never really even close enough in the second half for it to matter because of Kansas City's second quarter. The offense is that good. The sneaky part of that game is like, we're talking about the Bills offense like we talk about the 2019 Chiefs offense, and Kansas City's defense kind of like shut it down, forced some turnovers. I think that's the sneaky big part heading into this Super Bowl, where Tampa's red hot. I want to take Tampa in some ways, but like, if Kansas City plays on both sides of the ball like they did in that game against Buffalo, they're not going to lose.
So, and now let's get into the Super Bowl a little bit, but I want to ask you, so I think the big takeaway, and it's not like I'm the only one saying this, a lot of people are, is that the Chiefs, they did lose, particularly Fisher, some key pieces on the line, and the Bucks, they got to Rodgers again. Their front, Shaq Barrett, Pierre Paul, like they've got guys. Todd Bowles loves to blitz. Is that something, as we bring up the matchup page, and you guys can see this, and that's what it's one of the many, many key resources that I use, is that something that has a concern for the Chiefs, or do you think the way Andy Reid play calls, the way Mahomes seemingly can do whatever he wants, they'll find a way to neutralize what I think is probably the biggest advantage Tampa has?
Maybe. That's why I said if Kansas City plays like they played against Buffalo, they'll win the game. I didn't say Kansas City will win the game. Tampa's going to have a very good shot here, obviously, especially the way they're playing. And like, we want to talk about Super Bowl props. You mentioned Devin White, the way he's been playing in this postseason. He's like plus 4,000 or 5,000 for Super Bowl MVP. Now, Tom Brady, if the Bucks win, it's going to be really hard to see Tom Brady not winning another Super Bowl MVP. Like, he got that one in the Falcons game when James White had like almost 20 catches and dominated the game and didn't deserve it. But like, I'll say, I bet like a small long shot on both sides every year for Super Bowl MVP, just for fun. And I hit Von Miller one year. That's the only time it's actually like worked out. But he was pretty long odds in that game. So like, maybe Kansas City's secondary has been playing well. Maybe they have more success running the ball, and Devin White it's going to take a couple sacks, a couple turnovers. But that narrative is there, especially if it's like a game more where Kansas City loses because the Bucs shut down Mahomes, then you like have to give it to the defensive side. There could be some value to something like that.
I mean, yeah, you're going to need a freak play. It's tough with the MVP because it's an arbitrary award. So it's just like you have Mahomes and Brady, the faces of the league in some ways. You just mentioned it. Like, should they get it in some circumstance? The answer would be no, but they still would. But if you're talking about major odds, I'd be interested in someone like, I mean, again, we're getting things started on a wild note here. These are like extreme MVP type candidates. Maybe like someone that could score on special teams, who's a burner, where it's like, if the game is low scoring for some reason and the big play is a kickoff return or a punt return.
What's Hardman's number?
It's got to be huge. I don't have it in front of me. Let me pull it up.
Okay.
But yeah, just they need to have an out. That's really my criteria.
I mean, for somebody like him, I would say like, so let's say Kansas City wins like 17-13, and he has a punt. He has a punt return for a touchdown and catches the offensive touchdown from Mahomes. Like, it would take that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm sure if you shop this, you could find probably even better than 50-1. But these are long shot type guys. To me, there's a better chance of someone like that than like, a guy who's more reliant on the quarterback, where it's like if they have a big game, Brady has a big game or Mahomes has a big game. Hardman is somewhat reliant on it, but at least he gets the ball on rushing attempts and special teams and things like that.
Right. So you're basically saying like somebody like Travis Kelce is probably a bad bet because all of his success relies on Patrick Mahomes. I will point out, Brady has gotten 2 wide receivers Super Bowl MVPs in Deion Branch and Julian Edelman.
So you would know better than me because sadly, I can't remember which of like the 9 Super Bowls that he won those came. What I would say, and this could be wrong, correct me if it is, that when that happened, Brady wasn't as Brady. Like, the brand wasn't, where Brady and Mahomes now are so huge
Right.
that it's more the James White effect, as you talked about with the Falcons.
He should have gotten 2 wide receivers and a running back.
He
Super Bowl
should have,
MVP because White got like whatever it was, 17 catches. The first one was the Eagles one. That was their 3rd Super Bowl in 2004, and Brady he was fine. He was average, but Deion Branch did the majority of the damage. And then the second one was the low-scoring Rams one, where Gronk had the big catch to set up the Michelle touchdown, but there was so little action in that game, and so much of it went to Edelman that he wound up getting.
What a dumb game that was.
That was a weird game. When you're a fan, though, you're like, it doesn't feel as bad as it was. You're just sweating it out the whole time because it was close the entire game. But that was a bad game. Yeah, that was the total in that game was like, that was the year that we had Kansas City and the Rams get together for like 100 points. And the Patriots had a great year. Obviously, they were in the Super Bowl. So like the total in that game, we were looking at like 60 points and 13-3.
Yeah, I mean, that was the year what the Saints should have made it, and they just screwed up the Pistons.
That was bad.
And now it's crazy. The Niners and the Rams might be jettisoning their quarterback. Like, you make it to the Super Bowl from the NFC, that just means that your quarterback will be most likely cast away in the next couple years.
Well,
but
I think Brady probably will be gone in the next couple of years. But who knows? Brady might outlast everybody.
Blessing and a curse. But I do agree that like someone like Travis Kelce, it's not him. It's just the product of what has to happen.
Right.
I want to ask you this, though, because this is a common, I don't want to say theory, but you've got something like Mahomes sitting, say, minus 120 to win the MVP. The Chiefs are minus 170 on the money line. Do you say, okay, there's almost no chance that the Chiefs win the game and it's not Mahomes? I'm just going to do a pseudo Chiefs money line play as Mahomes MVP, or do you think there's a large middle there where the Chiefs win and it's not Mahomes?
I can't bring myself to do that because that's what everybody was saying to do for the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl when the Pats opened like minus 125, minus 130, which I got. I bet a ton on that and was happy to have it. And then by the time it was like, that was like 10 days before the game. And then by the time it was game time, you have Brady at like minus 125 as Super Bowl MVP, and all my Pats fans friends are in my ear like, oh, I don't want to bet the Pats minus 160, minus 180. I'm just going to bet Brady MVP. I'm like, be careful. And then it's Edelman. Like, just imagine the feeling of doing that, and then you're right about who wins, and the MVP goes to someone else. You're not betting on what you want to bet. You want to bet on the Chiefs to win, but you just took something that's not Kansas City money line. So my advice would be to bet on what you want, bet on the outcome that you want to bet on, and try not to get too cute.
It's a little, it depends. Obviously, it's all price driven. Like if it's a serious discrepancy, because they're correlated, we know that if the Chiefs win the game, there's a much higher chance that Mahomes is the MVP. We all know that. But if you're only getting from minus 170 to minus 120, to me, that's not enough. Now, if you're talking like it balloons to minus 210 and you're getting plus money on Mahomes, well, yeah, obviously I would really consider that. On the flip side, same concept for me. You have Tampa sitting around plus 150. You've got Brady north of 2-1. I would, if you like Tampa, I feel even worse about betting Brady than I would just take Tampa money line. And yes, it's not as good a price, but you're covering.
If you're going a dog on the money line, then just take the money line. No need to look for extra payout. But if you want to do the Mahomes thing, like maybe you split it. Maybe you take Mahomes even money, Kansas City minus 170, then you feel like you have a minus 135 money line, which is more fair. And if that weird like for let's say we play this game 10 times as Chiefs wins. Let's say we play out 10 Chiefs wins. How many times do you think Mahomes wins MVP?
8.
I was going to say 9. So like you probably have to be okay with that. And if you get the 1 or 2 outliers where he doesn't, you're going to like break even at the end of the Super Bowl after picking the right winning side, and you're not going to feel good about that. So that's going to stink.
Yeah, no, I'm more with you than not. Again, price, and we're going to dive into this more and more as the week goes on. We have plenty of content. Literally, we got everything. I want to ask you just some general questions though, because the Super Bowl is the only week where you can bet on a lot of stupid shit, to be honest. Do you delve into those type of props? I know they're mostly offshore. And the limits, I mean, you're not going to get rich doing that, but like, do you ever look to whether it's cross sports, they have like more yards, this guy, or LeBron points, rebounds, assists, crossover things, national anthem, or do you focus really what you're doing on a normal playoff week?
I generally don't have enough time to like get real information on this stuff. It's so hard.
It's all information driven. It's true.
The only I don't know why every once in a while, just for fun, like throw $20 on like a coin flip or a Gatorade color, like just to get the juices flowing. You win the coin flip. Like, all right, I'm 1-0. It's going to be a good night.
How the hell do people bet the coin? Even for me, and I do a lot of dumb things, I can't bet the coin flip. That's just awful.
It's as random as it gets.
And you're laying -105. Like, so
it's incredibly dumb.
Real dumb.
I would say the Gatorade color is more fun than the fun thing about the coin flip is that it's before the game. But the Gatorade color is more fun than the coin flip because you're like, oh, what's it going to be? You have plus money. I don't know. That one can be interesting. One thing that I will say is the national anthem, people, they practice and people have inside information on where it's going to go. So that's one where like, when you see it start moving, you're like, oh, this side's taking some money. Once a side starts taking money, it's going to fly. So like if you hear something or see something or feel something, once you see a little bit of movement, take it. Like once it goes like, oh, the over 1 minute and 59 seconds, I don't even know the real times. Over 1 minute and 59 seconds just went to -140 on Sunday morning. That means it's going to be -300 at kickoff. So like if you believe that information, take it because sometimes it's good.
Yeah, there's not. Some of them have no edge. Others honestly probably have the biggest edge because it's like there isn't, it's like what color will this person wear? Well, somebody knows that. And if it leaks out on Twitter or whatnot, but the limits are not great. The cross sport props are interesting just because like for someone like you obviously have a good pulse on a points, rebounds, assists type thing for Luka or a big name. And then you're looking at, okay, if this guy, is over under for receiving yards, say it's like Antonio Brown and it's, 40 or something like that. To me, some of those are worth pursuing. You've mentioned the injury news. Well, they're going to affect things like that too. I
was going to say, if I can find something that, pops up on Super Bowl Sunday and you can't bet it before Sunday because you don't know the NBA injury news before Sunday. So if something were to pop up on Sunday where it's like, oh, this NBA prop has a little bit of an edge due to it one way or the other due to lineup news, then now you have my attention a little bit to, get it against a good number. So I get I see what you're saying there. If it were to it would just take some dumb luck for one prop to just fall the right way. And I mean, that would be cool to get, I think. So I'll keep an eye on it for sure. But the one thing is then what's a bigger edge? Is a bigger edge betting it against the actual number that it is? Or is it a bigger edge to gamble on your gamble that like, if you're going over, what if Anthony Davis is out and LeBron smashes his points, rebounds, assists prop, but Antonio Brown has 100 yards? Yeah. Then you're screwed.
You're upping in some ways the variance. I guess the difference is you also have the other out, obviously. Like
that he has 19 yards and LeBron's going to score 19 points in the first half. And you walk away with it.
And there are definite situations where you would lose your prop straight up in the NBA, but you get bailed out because the football prop is just he's terrible. So yeah, I think I also, again, I'm not. It seems though like those would be the slowest to react. I know a lot of course, the stuff is automated and whatnot, but like those props can get stale. I think those lines can hang a little more. They have a lot of them out there too. I'm not talking that there's 5 or there's hundreds of those types whether it's NHL, there's golf. Like, you can find two sports that you think you know well and start to compare them. The line, again, it's not going to take heavy action to move it. So you can kind of see where it's going and what's happening.
Yep. I agree with you there. Those ones are that's not like a player being ruled out and you see a player in the Super Bowl being ruled out and you see lines just fly and move. Those are going to sit.
Yeah, exactly. Those are definitely going to sit for some time. And then, I mean, do you look to, obviously these are bets that you can bet every week, but like I tend to look to more exotic where it's not just like, oh, this is minus 110, whether it's like player to score, first touchdown, or even, do you ever do props where it's like, okay, this guy's receptions prop is say 5.5. I'm going to bet him over 8.5, 9.5 catches for like plus money? Or do you think naturally that the books are stealing so much equity as you go up that it's really best not to go to those things?
Yeah, I don't really do the alternate lines or anything like that. It's tough enough to win props set at the right number as you know. So like I don't see anything that I don't see anything necessarily in this game that's like, oh wow, that somebody's due for 2-3 more receptions than their prop says, or this is way off. Everything's very well priced in this game that I've seen so far. Yes, it's the Super Bowl. It will be well priced. So it would be nice to. I would rather try and on books that allow you to parlay two outcomes that I think are very likely. And I'm hoping, for my podcast that I do, I'm hoping to get another odds boost on DK Sportsbook. We got one last week that hit. It was Travis Kelce to have 100 or more yards and score a touchdown. He was minus 118 to go over 94.5 yards. He was minus 125 to score. They were both outcomes that should have gotten there. They got there, and it hit at plus 225. So, like, if I want to do something plus money, I'll parlay a couple of player props or hopefully craft up another cool one of those that can cash.
So we have a couple of minutes left before we bounce on out of here. And like I said, chat, you guys know NBA on NBA. On NBA, we've got Josh Engelman, we've got Greg Ehrenberg coming up next. I just want to ask you, because again, this is not the Friday before the Super Bowl. This is the Friday before the Friday. Most of the things that we've talked about on this show, particularly with the NBA, it's, day of the game, 4 hours before there's a big breaking news story. You react, you steal some edge. Is there anything for the Super Bowl that you think is maybe best served potentially locking in early as the value may disappear? Or are you more on the app that we have to wait closer to game time for the majority of these things, gather more info, see injury news, and go that route?
Yeah, it's obviously game by game, matchup by matchup. I don't see that much in this game that I think is going to move. One thing that I'm kind of interested in is maybe an overall sacks prop, the over. I think that without Fisher and the Tampa defensive line being so strong, I think they are going to get to Mahomes some. Tampa's offensive line has been improved, but overall in the season, they've given some stuff up. I think Kansas City can get to Brady. That's one that I think might take like some sharp money as the game approaches. I don't think you need to bet it now, but like maybe you bet it Friday before the game rather than Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. But I really don't see many things in this game that I'm like, you got to get this now before it moves. Do you?
Not really, to be honest, because there's nothing that to me is going to swing the pendulum. Certainly if this is not like a game where, when I bet some college basketball games and I lock them in, by the time the game tips, the spread has moved. Like, this is the Super Bowl. The line doesn't just like suddenly start moving wildly unless something happens, and we're not going to know that.
What do you think this closes at?
Probably. I mean,
it's really just between 3 or 3.5. Right?
Yeah, but it's just I think it's going to go to 3.5. Honestly, I don't know. I think people initially, with the line and whatnot, not the spread, but like the Chiefs lost those linemen. I think there was some quick fire reaction to that. As we get closer to game time, I think that the Chiefs close at 3.5. But that's just a gut feel. And again, like you said, we've got narrowed down. This isn't ballooning to 6.5. This isn't going to pick them, barring somebody obviously getting COVID or something. Like that doesn't happen on a game like this. So I don't think there's a huge rush to get to the window. If you've identified a prop that you like and it checks out, lock it in. But don't be afraid to put some things down on paper and monitor and say, you know what, if it gets to this price, I'm going to hit it, but I can wait. The sacks prop is interesting because Brady, we know that if someone gets close to him, he will give up the sack. Like he doesn't care. And obviously on the other side, I think that Shaq Barrett and these guys are going to get to Mahomes. He's very good at getting the ball out. All right, before we get out of here, we did a question. Thoughts on a tight end onslaught with Kelsey a captain with Braid and Gronk? I'm not sure I'd want Braid and Gronk in the same showdown lineup. Certainly, we're going to dive into that. I will say that I do think that Gronk could be utilized a little more. I've been saying that, though, and he had the big screen pass, but that's about all he did last week. It seems like he's really not a focal point right now with the offense.
No, I like Brate more than Gronk, honestly, as a receiver. Right? They're using Gronk as a blocker. He got a lot of targets in that New Orleans game, but he only caught one. I think does he still have 2 catches in the postseason in 3 games?
He's been non-existent.
He obviously had a crucial play in the Green Bay game. When it gets to crucial plays, Brady might look there. But it's really just going to be the most you'd be missing out on is like one big play. It's not, I don't think it's like Gronk's going to dominate the game.
No, I would be more apt to go to, if you wanted to take a shot, to go like Gronk first touchdown and hope that, around the red zone or something like that, he can get in there. Cause I just don't see the volume. Here's
one for you. Gronk last touchdown, because when it gets to crunch time, that's where Tommy touchdown is going to be looking.
Yeah. Tommy touchdowns. I can't take it. I really can't take it.
Before we go, I cashed Tampa plus, I bet these the day Brady signed before he signed. I cashed Tampa plus 1,500 to win the NFC. I have an even smaller bet on Tampa plus 3,000 to win the Super Bowl. I only got like 25 to 30% of my winnings out of that bet because I smashed New Orleans money line. I smashed Green Bay money line. I thought they were losing both of those games. I did not think they were going to win those games, and they did. So, I didn't win that much on my Tampa prop that we've been discussing all season here because I didn't believe in them. And now I'm sitting here. I know what it feels like. Like, I had never bet against Tom Brady before. I either bet on the Patriots or I pass. Mm-hmm. Now I've been going against Tom Brady, and I've just been funneling away profits over here, and I know what it's like.
Yeah, welcome to my life. For literally the last 15 years, went to college in Amherst and had to deal with this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, it's better than holding Broncos tickets like I was, but that's another story and another show for another time.
Here's one more quick one for you, and I got this from John Ewing on Twitter. Right now, the Chiefs are taking more than 60% of the bets. So Tom Brady, since 2003, has taken 40% of the bets or fewer on 12 occasions. He has never not covered one of those games.
That's great.
He's 9-0-3. Getting 3 pushes in a 12-game sample is wild, but 9-0-3 against the spread when taking 40% or fewer tickets.
It's one more reason why it's probably going to go to 3.5. Like I'd say the money and the tickets are going to come in on Kansas City. And that spread, listen, there's plenty of sharp people who are waiting, and there may be buyback. We'll see. If it ticks to 3.5, it may shoot right down to 3. You know how that goes. It's just like Bitcoin, all those other things. Anyway, on that note, we're going to bounce on out of here for the day. Like I said, we'll have plenty of Super Bowl coverage. I know we just hit very broad strokes today, but if you have questions, follow Julian on Twitter at Julian Edlow, myself at JazzRazDFS, and join the community. Like I said, we're building something really special here at Awesemo. We want you guys to be a part of it. Coming up next, Josh Lingerman, Greg Ehrenberg, NBA breakdown, everything you need to know for Friday. So good luck. Enjoy the weekend. Talk to you guys soon.